Hey guys, this is the Podtendo podcast. We do talk for a little bit, so if you guys want to get to the main show proper, just kind of skip ahead. There'll be like a music cue, or it'll sound a little different. Maybe we'll get like a commercial going on. I'm Mick. This is Tyson. We kind of just talk general banter stuff. We had a weird conversation going on before, and then our recording got disrupted, and then we kind of maybe had a technical issue. So we're back.
Starting again.
We're starting again. We were talking about summertime. It's summertime. Favorite summer traditions. I came to the conclusion I like impromptu kind of day drinking that you can kind of get away with only really in the summer. Tyson, what was yours?
Mine was about going out to a lake for sure and hitting that up because I enjoy myself a good beach and good laying out in the sun and just enjoying the heat.
Nice. And we kind of came to the conclusion it was just like high energy. You're not so inclined to just want to sit and like gorge on TV, and like you can actually go outside and enjoy yourself. And I feel like there's just lots of fun activities like swimming, and I don't know what I like better, cold or heat. I've always said cold because you can warm yourself up very simply, whereas it's harder to cool down. But I kind of feel like I'm getting towards more of like I like the heat better.
I've felt that same way for a very long time, and I think I'm going more heat the way it's going because being out in Canada, we get 6 months of winter. I get it.
Yeah.
It's brutal out here. It sucks.
Well, I don't know about...
So when summer comes along, you're like, these are the best 4 months because you know you're going to get some cold months in there, but you're going to at least get some months of warmth. So
that's fair. Yeah, and I don't know if it's like I moved kind of a bit more north in the last couple of years, and I don't know if it's just the winters are like harsher up here, right? As opposed to where I used to live, like down in like Lethbridge. I mean, it was windy, but it was like fairly chill. Like, it never got that cold.
Yeah,
you know?
It's very mild weather. I've always debated about just packing out the bags one year and just making a decision to move somewhere south, really nice and warm. But unfortunately, being Canadian, it's like, well, the furthest I can get is to the border, and that leaves Vancouver, the coast, and then somewhere along the border. And I'll stay where I'm at.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, it just kind of makes you want to enjoy the summer more. That's all.
Yep.
Right. So it's all good there. Where else? Movies. Let's maybe just briefly touch on movies. Have you went to a movie theater and watched a movie recently?
Yes.
What have you seen?
Only Alien Covenant this year.
Huh, weird. Yeah, I should watch that at some point. We've seen Guardians 2 and the new Pirates movie, so...
Nice.
Yeah.
Didn't go see Wonder Woman?
You know what? No, fuck DC. Like, Batman vs. Superman was such a terrible experience. I honestly hope, like, I would be so happy to find that they just, like, went bankrupt and they don't make movies anymore, because fuck that. Like, it was awful.
You say that, but yet you enjoy lots of other Warner Brothers made stuff.
But DC Comics, fuck that.
Like
Warner Brother.
You mean like the actual? But the problem is Warner Brothers now owns DC, so.
But that's fine. Just like, and DC Comics just never ever really like did it for me. Like, Batman's fun. Like, I like Batman, but like Superman just seems kind of like the asshole of like the comic book world, and like the stories don't ever seem that.
Yeah, and if you talk to Superman fans, they're like, well, it's about how he inspires other people to do great things. And you're like, yeah, so if a dick inspires a bunch of people to be better people, does that justify an asshole? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't... Mm-hmm. That seems like really faulty logic to me, and I feel like that's the entire DC world, is here's a bunch of mediocre people that... Because if you're reading fiction, the protagonist has to be almost the best kind of example of a human being, and if they're flawed, yes, that can work narratively, but a lot of the time it ends up being a little like, well, I kind of end up not rooting for this person, I end up not caring, and then all of a sudden I'm zapped out of it and I just don't care. I can put it down and walk away and not care. So
that's fair. It's funny how we just kind of, I was like, oh, movies, and then we just ended up in DC, and I hate DC, and you're like, oh, that's all right.
Well, no, funny. They have their place, but without them pushing Marvel to be as good as they are, we wouldn't have the Marvel that they are today.
Yeah, that's fair. And I mean, I guess I don't really ever read like DC comics that much too. So maybe you could argue that DC comics are better than Marvel comics,
Oh man,
just in
New
the style that they are
52
written.
apparently was terrible. So.
Okay, all right. And I'm not a comic expert, so but that's kind of my feelings. Yeah, and then in terms of that's kind of am I looking forward? Like, am I going to go to another movie? I might go back and watch Guardians too. Like, it was really good.
That's fair.
Like, might be one of the best movies I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah. So, is there any other movies besides Guardians coming up this year
That I was looking forward to.
Yeah.
That I'm gonna like go to my way. I don't think so.
See,
Like
I have two for sure left kicking around. One's the remake of It, which could be good, could be bad. I have most faith in that one.
Okay.
And then they're finally releasing The Dark Tower, the movie.
Oh, that's right.
So that one's getting a lot of like mixed responses, and it's done by Sony, and I'm like, I can't think of anything that Sony's done that's really like, wow, I have faith in your production company.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, it could be good, but it also could be not good. So
nice. Yeah, I don't know if anything's coming out. Like, probably the next movie I will have to go to my way to see is probably Star Wars. But that's just kind of, I'm just at that point where I'm just like, I'll just be that person. Like, I'll just be that person that really looks forward to these things, I guess. Like, yeah. So there. So apparently what happens when we have like a good conversation going is we get interrupted and we have technical issues. We have an opening that's just a rehash of like DC and movies and Star Wars hate.
we go to our default of just hating on modern movies because it's the easiest thing to hate on.
Yeah. Oh, shucks. All right, let's get into today's game. I think we got lots of fun stuff to talk about, and we'll make these intros a little bit shorter.
Hopefully.
Oh, who you gonna call?
Welcome to the Podtendo podcast, where we analyze, reminisce, and replay the glory of old Nintendo games. We can be contacted on Twitter at Podtendo Podcast, email us at podtendo@gmail.com, or check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/Podtendo. I am your co-host, Rubik's Cube Master Mick, and I'll be joined every episode by my
co-host Chancellor Tyson.
Today we're going to look at 3 NES games that were remakes, or I guess movie tie-ins for summer blockbusters. Excellent. All right, so today, theme is summer. We're having fun. There's summer blockbusters in the air. Hollywood has spent all this money to entertain us so we can sit inside dark rooms and watch movies.
Or to escape the heat with good AC.
Ah. If you're going to a theater, what's your, what's the setup look like? Are you, how do you get comfortable in a theater? What's that look like?
You have to first pick the best seat. That's key. You don't want to sit. You don't want to sit.
What's the best seat?
You don't want to sit in the front row for sure, and you don't want to sit all the way in the back. So you got to pick somewhere in the middle, and you got a good, just 50% slab. You don't want to be the bottom 25% or the top 25%. Somewhere in the middle. But that's a good breakdown. Every movie theater kind of has its own thing. So there's some times where some movie theaters are kind of more independent. You want the screens really pushed back, so you almost want to sit near the front. And then there's times where it's really pushed forward. There's the new thing of Real D, I think it's called, and they do it in 4:3 aspect ratio. So it's but it's blown up super huge. So, I don't know. With those ones, I find you almost want to sit a little bit further back because it's just to take it all in with your letting your eyes relax. You end up missing parts of the screen, but some people like that. So, I don't know. Personal preference.
Okay. All right. Are you buying snacks beforehand? What kind of snacks are you getting?
I don't know. Where do you usually sit? And I can think about my candy.
So, my experience is I'm showing up. If I'm going by myself or me and Tamara are going to go, typically we'll get tickets hopefully right at the cash or at the the concession. You don't want to go to the ticket office because then you have to stand in another line for snacks. It's not worth it. I like a large diet pop, and I'll get a bag of candy. Maybe peanut M&Ms, maybe something kind of chewy like a Swedish berries or something like that. If I'm really hungry, I'm like the kind of guy that brings snacks into the movie theater, so you can always do that as well.
You almost have to.
I then walk into the movie theater, and I have to I'll walk across kind of the first aisle. So I don't sit in the bottom half, the top 75%. I kind of walk across because I like to experience. I like to kind of take a look and see, like, who's my peer group? Like, who am I going to be sitting with in the next little while? And I'll kind of, like, scope it out. And, like, because sometimes there's people and you're like, oh, they might smell bad, or they're going to be noisy, or, like, I just don't like
sit near kids. Don't sit near teenagers.
Yeah, so, like, I try and avoid those people. And then typically I walk up, and I'm about, like, a 5-rower, a 6-rower. So it's about, I count usually 1, 2, and then I'll sit maybe halfway down one of those aisles. I look for kind of one of the empty ones, and that's where I sit down with kind of, like, my candy, my pop. And that's good. That sets me up for about 2 hours of, like, enjoyable experience. So that's kind of my, like, pre-movie experience.
Yeah, see, we usually... If I'm planning on getting candy, I just go straight to the concession. But if I'm not planning on buying candy, I just like buy one of the self-serve options because they're always open. Nobody ever uses self-serve, so you just like buy your own tickets. One thing we realized though, which almost kind of screwed us, is you can't in the new theaters you have to pick your seating.
Oh yeah.
So and you can't leave a single seat. So there would be times where me and Hope. There'd be 3 seats, and me and Hope were trying to buy our tickets, 1, 2, 3, and like, oh, you can't leave that single there. And we were with a friend of ours, and it was just like they were just buying a single person, so they couldn't buy that seat either. And we're like, this is so stupid. There's 3 of us, and we want to buy these 3 seats. So unless that person pays me, you can't, like, that last person wouldn't be able to select that seat, and they'd have to select another seat and then sit there.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't go to like movies opening day, and I think we have this like nice little theater kind of by our, or I guess our old place, but we still like to go to it. And it's never really busy. Like I go opening weekend, like Friday, kind of like 5 o'clock. The show's never that busy. So I mean, I understand the picking your seats, but
yes,
yeah,
it's a stupid system, and they need to rethink it. But
no snacks. What are you getting? What's your
depends
candy?
on the day, and if I do get candy, it's either one of 2 things: Sour Patch Kids or peanut M&Ms.
All right, good. You ever have those buttons, those like caramel just buttons that are like little buttons of chocolate?
No.
They're good. They're like nice to melt in your mouth, but sometimes I just like to like chew my candy. Like I don't want like to melt in my mouth. I just want like something there to chew it. So
popcorn.
All right.
Bag of peanut M&Ms. Cut that, or rip it open and just dump it in the bag, and you're good to go.
Nice. So me and Tyson, we're in the movie theater. We've got probably peanut M&Ms. Actually seems like the kind of the nice choice. I've got my nice big pop beside me. We're ready to talk about some summer blockbusters. Mm-hmm. That's the theme of today's show. We weren't just randomly ranting. I swear there was a point to it.
Method.
All right, we're gonna look at some old NES games that tie into summer blockbusters. The first game we're gonna talk about is Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters. The release date of this game was 1984, as broad as that is. I looked everywhere to find like what's the actual date that it came out on the NES. Nothing. It came out on a couple different systems. There was like an Activision, NES, an Atari, and it was kind of like a multi-platform release pretty early on in like the video game cycles. And I like couldn't specifically find a lot of detail in the NES game, so I was like, all right, we'll just call it 1984. Then I panicked and thought, what if Ghostbusters wasn't a summer blockbuster? Oh no. Ghostbusters, the first one, came out June 8th, 1984, so we did it.
Nice.
How long to beat has this game at? 45 minutes. Actual retail price, it was $45, and if we factor in inflation, that's $97.48 today. Current eBay price, you can get a loose cart for about $80 and a complete inbox copy of this game for $80, so $20 to $80. Current eShop price, you can't find this anywhere, so
good.
Yeah. Quickly, the development details of this title. Again, I really struggled finding kind of anything on this title. The NES and the Sega Master Systems version of this game ended with a boss battle against Gozer. The Commodore 64 version was one of the few Commodore 64 games that featured digitalized speech, though this was limited to someone saying "Ghostbusters" and another laughing an evil laugh when the title screen of the game was shown.
You could have just said evil laugh.
That was a fucking stupid sentence. I legitimately copy and pasted that off Wikipedia. So, come on, Wikipedia, edit your shit. Bastards make me sound fucking stupid, like I can't read, like I'm some fucking hillbilly. Stupid hillbillies. Activision published this game. The controls of this game. I found it was kind of like a menu select controls worked fine. The driving controls aren't that great. The staircase was fine. Catching ghosts is kind of fun.
Is it? This entire game is so bad.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I don't know if we picked like the greatest games at any point today. So.
No, I'm actually kind of happy we got to choose these games because this, if I was a kid and I ran to the store and I got this home because I love the movies and I put this in, I'd be so disappointed. Like, the driving sequence is the entire game. I was driving more than I was doing anything else because I would drive, run out of gas, and it's like, oh, you didn't make it to the place. That's fine. Now you are all out of gas. Like, two people get out and push it, and then you somehow cross the streams and get booted back to the main screen, and you're like, well, I guess I could go get gas. Oh, you already got gas, so screw that. Wasted your turn. It's like, all you do is just drive around in a very poor simulator. And the gas tank isn't long enough to last longer than one actual, like, driving to a building, because you have to drive to a building even though you're right in front of a building. Just this game, and there's the counter that counts down how far you are away from some buildings. So there's times where it's like, oh yeah, you need to go like 800 meters. You have like a 200 meter gas tank max. So you're like, how am I supposed to get 800 meters? This game, man. It makes me shake my head. It's so frustrating.
Huh? Really hit a vein on this one. Tyson got kind of upset on it. Yeah, calm down.
It's just not good.
That's awesome. For this game, first memories of this title. I blanked on this one. I don't really recall. I kind of remember having the second one. I remember seeing the second Ghostbusters game at one of my buddies' place. But I mean, we didn't have an NES, so it was hard to experience games that came out before I was born for a system I didn't own. Probably the AVGN review of this was probably the first time I experienced this title.
Yeah, me too.
All right. But to get ourselves really in the mindset, so we know we're in the movie theaters, we're sitting here, we're, ready to experience this great movie of Ghostbusters and then go home and playing the disappointing video game. Let's go on our Wayback Machine and get ourselves really in the mindset. So 1984, it's a big year, should be a little bit easier than like specific dates. What happened in 1984? Movies that came out: Ghostbusters, The Terminator, Beverly Hills Cop, Gremlins, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Indiana Jones, and The Temple of Doom. So there were some good movies that came out that year. They all have a very 80s feel to them, though.
Yeah, none of these movies have aged very particularly well. I would say maybe Indiana Jones, probably the best.
Yeah, but Temple of Doom is the worst Indiana Jones.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, basically, you think you're what happens in that movie? They're in a club with these Chinese guys, and then they escape, and then they crash in the mountains, and then these villagers are like, hey, can you go save our kids? And then they go to this palace, and everyone's acting kind of strange. Then they end up in this underground tunnel. Indiana Jones gets possessed, he gets unpossessed, they escape in a train car, and they save the kids. That's literally everything that happens in that movie.
Yeah, it's definitely the weakest, or I would say it's third weakest of the Indiana Jones franchise.
Fuck the Crystal Skull.
Yeah, frickin' Shiloh.
Fuck the Crystal Skull. TV, you could be watching Night Court, The Cosby Show, and Murder, She Wrote were the top 3 shows in 1984. So, I mean, once you got home, it sucked. TV sucked, video games sucked, life was hard,
Mm-hmm.
Games that came out this year, you could be playing Tetris, Paperboy, Balloon Fight, and Excite Bike. So, some real classic NES games out there,
Tetris was good.
But when you're talking on your rotary phone to your best friend about how much you liked Ghostbusters and how much fun other 80s activities were, what songs were playing on your radio? Are you ready for the top 3 songs of 1984?
Sure.
All right, so the first song, number 3, according to the Billboard top charts for 1984, Say, Say, Say by Paul McCartney and Mike. That's such a good song. Such a good song. What's Love Got to Do with It by Tina. On one of these lists.
That we actually can say without a doubt, I recognize this song.
Yup.
Yep.
We did it. We did it. And finally, When Doves Cry by Prince. Because after Prince died, I listened to a bunch of Prince songs, and I was like, oh, he's actually pretty good. So
He was talented. Never heard a song or went out of my way to listen, but yeah.
There you go. So now we're in that mindset. It's good. What is the story of this game? I'm not going to do a voiceover because lots of these are just one sentences. Gozer has unleashed the dead on New York City. It's time for the Ghostbusters to save the day. That's the story. If you haven't seen the movie, why are you playing this game?
Yeah, if you're playing this game and haven't seen the movie, get rid of this game and watch the movie.
You'll have a better 45 minutes if you just watch the first 45 minutes of Ghostbusters.
Yeah, you'll have a better everything if you just don't play this game and just go watch Ghostbusters.
So the level notes section. All right, let's see how we do. This game is basically an economic simulator. So you're given some money to buy a car. Depending what car you get certain stats. And then the rest of the game is trying to capture ghosts so that you can make more money, but you have to spend money to make ghosts because you want to try and fight Gozer. That was my best explanation of what this title was.
Yeah. This game, it just kind of drops you into a menu. Things flash and then you can go there, but if you didn't already buy your items, which it didn't tell you which items to buy or give you any descriptions of what they do, you're kind of hooped and you just have to hit reset, which I did a couple times in this game. It's like I've never had to play a game before that's just painful. Like and I was trying to like make money in this game, and catching ghosts is it's like the only way you can actually get money.
Yeah. Well, it's your Ghostbuster.
Yeah. But getting an actual ghost is such an ordeal. Like, you have to have all the right equipment, got to drive to the frickin' place. The driving scenes take longer than the actual, like, put a trap down and try to catch them.
Yeah.
It's just so... And you can catch, like, maybe 2 or 3. It's like, yeah, you made, like, $500. And you're like, but the gas alone cost me $500 to do this. I'm not going to spend days doing this.
Well, it taught you that, being a Ghostbuster wasn't the most lucrative career, so...
Yeah. No, yeah. I definitely don't envy these guys.
It was not. Yeah, I almost thought that catching ghosts, was not the most broken mechanic in this game. And the menu, like, when you press over and down, it goes over and down, and when you press A, you buy stuff. So, like, some mechanics were, like, not completely broken.
That's true. It wasn't... It functioned as a game. I just wouldn't say I was having fun while doing it.
It's true. Now, the final staircase, without cheats, is freaking terrible. With cheats, it's not bad. Basically, you need to use shields so the ghosts can't attack you. You have to place baits so that the ghosts are attracted to the bait so you can get up kind of the final little staircase. I don't know how you would beat this game normally. Like, it would take you days, like hours and hours of grinding to be able to actually manage.
Yeah, and with the limited inventory supply, it's it's not like you could have multiple baits. You get 3, and that's all you would get to get up that entire staircase. And there's like a ton of floors. So
Yeah. I mean, if you have cheats, I would just put on infinite health and then just like walk up them until you can fight Gozer. The final boss of the game is Gozer. You have to kind of dodge, duck, dive, dip, and dodge all of her attacks while she's firing at you. There's some lasers or statues that shoot laser beams at you, and ghosts flying around. So basically, just kind of dodge back and forth and shoot your little kind of pathetic energy at her. And you can say, "I beat this game."
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. You have completed a great game and proved that justice of our culture. Now go and rest our heroes. That's the ending that you get for beating this title. So you get a really good case of English.
Yeah, it's pretty broken.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So current thoughts on this title. I guess it's a Ghostbusters game? That's a pretty good review, right? If you said, it is a Ghostbusters game, so...
I guess, in fact, you are busting ghosts.
Yep, you sure are. It's definitely not the best game out there. Now, my only saving grace is considering it came out in 1984. The NES came out in 1983, so it's a year old of video game technology. It, could possibly be manageable. It's not just an arcade title that's wanting you to pump quarter and quarter and quarter into it. There was, some semblance of, I don't know, story. There was kind of an end goal.
I've rage quit faster in other games for sure.
Yeah.
It's frustrating, not impossible. It's I guess the whole climbing up the stairs as a kid would suck, but that's why Game Sharks and Game Genies got invented. So
yeah. That's exactly why they got exempted. So, but I would not recommend playing this game.
No, I would definitely avoid it. If you were a kid and got stuck with it on a Christmas present. Tough nuts.
I mean, it's unfortunate that you had a really good experience in the movie theaters and then you have to be playing this and you're like, well, it sucks. But I mean, it's 1984, so 1985 will be really sweet. Very sweet. Well, moving on to our next game in our Blockbuster game trilogy show. I don't think I've actually said that we were doing a trilogy of Blockbuster games today.
Yeah, I think that got glossed over.
Yeah, all right. Well, we're doing 2 more games, so it's pretty exciting. We're going to look at top released December 11th, 1987. The movie was released May 16th, 1986.
Oh.
Another summer blockbuster.
Good.
Hooray.
I was worried when I read December.
No, we're good. So game came out about a year and a bit afterwards, so maybe there was some hopefully development time. How long to beat this title? There was no data. I'm really glad I chose such a popular game to talk about on this podcast. So excited. Actual retail price was $30. If we factor in inflation, that would be $57.61 today. Current eBay price. You can get a copy of this game for as low as $8, and a complete inbox copy would be $85. There is no eShop version of this game, so yikes. And with most of these early crappy NES games, there's so many development details. I'm gonna just bear yourself. You guys might want to go get a drink while you're listening to this, because it's gonna take a while to get through these. Konami was charged with bringing the 1986 hit to the NES. Creating a piloting simulator that revolved around dogfighting was what they were going for. I realize that was a lot to get through, people. Hopefully you were able to handle that information. So.
Your minds aren't blown.
Yeah, a lot is known about this game. Yikes. Controls. My game was completely fucked up. So it was half a screen in the middle. The bottom part of the screen was on top, and the bottom part of the screen was all four parts of the screen mashed together.
Oh, weird.
So like my ROM was broken.
Uh,
Yeah.
so you didn't actually really get around to...
Well, I played through the first 2 levels, and based on the limited I could see of the radar and like flying around and like seeing the little sprites, I actually beat the first 2 levels. So
You did better than me, and I could actually see what I was doing.
yeah. So I was like, huh, good job, me.
Yeah. The whole dogfighting part is kind of fun because it's almost like a rail shooter, but it's on an NES, so it's kind of neat. The whole landing on the helicarrier or another thing makes no sense.
Yeah. So basically, there was. I guess we won't go into the details so much right now. But how did you feel about the controls?
It was not great. I felt like the whole like speed up and speed down thing didn't really work.
Okay.
What I was trying to do, so got frustrated.
All right. So let's get ourselves in the mindset so we can really, talk about this game in like all the detail that it deserves, because it deserves a lot of detail. We're going to go into the Wayback Machine, and we're going to go to December 11th, 1986. The top movie from December 11th, 1987, not 86, was Throw Mama from the Train and Wall Street. You ever seen either of those movies?
Wall Street, but...
Randomly, when we were when Uncle Gary was here a couple weeks ago and I went to go visit, after we were getting tired of watching the news, we watched Throw Mama from the Train. It's Billy Crystal and Danny DeVito trying to kill Danny DeVito's mom. It's kind of funny. I don't know. I was like, I just recently saw that on TV. Not great. On TV, though, you could be watching Elf or Cheers.
Nice.
Yeah, so TV's, it's getting a little bit better. Games that were released. Castlevania 2, Punch-Out, Blades of Steel, and Metal Gear.
Nice.
Kind of getting back to that wheelhouse. I'm like, oh yeah, we've been here before. I mean, this is nice. It's a good time. And top 3 songs. Tyson's favorite segment. Top 3 music songs from December 11th, 1987. Number 3, Time of My Life by Bill Medley.
I know that one.
Yep. Number 2, Heaven is a Place on Earth. Huh, that's weird. Well, you look it up. That's another song you've heard too, right?
Yeah, I think it is.
Ooh, baby, do you know that? Not gonna. They say heaven is a place on earth.
Yeah, I do remember that one. Yep.
Yeah, it's good. And then number 1 was Faith by George Michael. Huh?
Oh, yes, yeah, totally.
So those are like songs you've heard.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like, I figured at some point, like, we're eventually going to hear songs we have heard.
Mm-hmm.
But I was talking with someone that's at work, and their opinion was, they were like, but, like, turn on the radio right now. Like, the top 3 songs, like, chances are, like, from 3 weeks ago, there was, like, 3 songs based on whatever they are, like, sales that you've never heard of before. Like, there's so much music produced all the time that if you look specifically at a week, like, there's any chance that you just never hear of some of these songs. So I was like, oh, it makes me feel better about myself.
That's true.
But, I mean, I also think I think the segment is more funny about being like, I don't know what the fuck these songs are.
Yeah, I think that's the joke.
Yeah, that's definitely the joke. All right. First memories. Because I know Tyson's like a huge Top Gun fan, like just loves it, and just like probably like played this game all the time as a kid. I have no memories of this one. I feel like again, that lack of NES kind of didn't allow me to experience most of these early games. So at some point, we'll like be like, oh, I remember playing this game. And then AVGN probably was the first time I heard or experienced this game. So
Yeah, me too. I have no experience with this game elsewise.
yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. All right, so ready for the really super cool dynamic story of this game?
Yeah.
You are Maverick, super slick, sexy 80s superstar. You have to complete 4 missions to save the day.
Man, if I'd known there was only 4 missions, I would have actually tried to beat them all.
Yeah, I forget what they were. There was like one you were fighting Russians, and then you were fighting someone else, and like the final one you were like in space fighting aliens or something.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, I didn't get that far. I was like, well, I also couldn't see anything. Like everything just looked like a jumble of like diarrhea in my eyes. So yeah. So level notes. So you fly around and use the screen and radar to hunt down enemies. There's missiles and then machine guns. And then once the zone is cleared, you have to try and land on a helicarrier, and it's damn near impossible.
Yeah, I don't know what they're looking for, but you can do it basically perfect and still crash.
Yeah, like you kind of come down at an angle, and you have to keep your plane level to get speed, and as soon as you pull up, you start like decelerating, and you have to try and land again on the helicarrier, and it just I don't get it.
It's frustrating. They went for the whole simulator thing a little bit too hard.
Yeah, it's not fun. It's not fun at all.
Nope.
The different endings we can get for this title. There are 2 endings to this game. Can you imagine 2 different endings? Like, whew, you really got your $30 worth in this time, kids. If a player loses but achieves a minimum score of 50,000 points, a still shot is shown of the player being presented the Top Gun plaque that is awarded to Iceman in the film. If the player completes all 4 missions and successfully lands on the aircraft carrier, a scene is shown of an F-14 taxiing on the carrier and the players waving to the LOS crew. So you get to see yourself coming out of your plane, being taxied, and like waving to everybody. So
pretty not rewarding.
No, not really. So those 4 missions, really not worth your time beating them. So
Yes.
not at all. Current thoughts on this game, Tyson? How are you feeling about this title? I feel like you're a little bit less hostile towards like Top Gun as you were to Ghostbusters.
Because there was actually fun parts. Like the dogfighting scenes were actually kind of interesting. That there was more gameplay here. Instead of having me select a menu like in Ghostbusters, this just tossed you into it. And you had a kind of a rail shooter that was kind of mixed with flight sim, so it was decent actually. I hate the only there's one bad part, and it's landing on the helicarrier. Other than that, it's decent.
And I feel like that was almost kind of like one of those notorious this is going to be a hard part of the game moments. Sort of similar to like people who are like, oh, Castlevania is so tough. Landing on the helicarrier is almost like one of those like mythology, one of those like weird lore based elements of like video game theories, so or not like video game like mythos. So
yeah, and the other thing is, it's like, to be honest, landing a plane isn't easy, so you can't make that easy.
Very true. Yeah, I think honestly, I think they did an okay job with what they had. I mean, there's not a lot in the movie to build around. Because they're like, we want to be fighter pilots, but I don't really like you, Maverick. Oh, I don't like you either, Iceman. Let's be friends. Oh, we better go fight the Russians.
Yeah.
So, not a lot of plot to dive into there, you know. So, I mean, at least we weren't like running around the base collecting volleyballs to go play volleyball or something.
Yeah, they basically were like, this is about, fighter pilots. Let's give you fighter pilot. Let's give you actually dogfights instead of just being like, here's a drama with that theme song.
Yep.
You have to ride your motorcycle next to the planes that are taken off for an episode or for a level. It's like, no, you can cut all that.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, and now final game of this trilogy of blockbuster titles. It's pretty exciting stuff. GoldenEye for the Nintendo 64. Just kidding.
I was gonna say, I'm like, don't think I did that one.
That'd be a really dumb place to like one of the best like Nintendo games of all time. We just bury it in like the end of this like weird trilogy.
Yeah.
And then we're like, how come no one listens? Like, no one likes the fact that we play these fun games.
Yeah. It's like, man, because you guys' formatting's terrible.
Yeah. Like, we play Adventure Island, and then we play, like, Ocarina of Time, but we call it the Adventure Island series. And people are like, why don't you advertise that you're playing these fun games?
Super Metroid mixed in with, like, Bubble Bobble.
Yeah. The real game we're going to play, though, is Jaws. Dun, dun, dun. Released November of 1987. The movie was released June 20th, 1975. So, 3 summer blockbuster movies, guys. We did it.
Actually, you know what it is? Go back to a cut part and a scrapped part of the first recording. I try to watch Jaws every summer.
Ah, all right.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were talking about summer traditions. So yours is Jaws.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Yeah, Jaws is fun. I do remember that like TBS used to have like Jaws marathons on one of and sitting watching Jaws movies and then going swimming as a kid. Like I must have been like tough as nails.
Either that or we were huge chickens and freaked out a lot.
I don't know. I feel like if anything, we became really fast swimmers because we're like, oh, there's a shark.
That's true. Panic. Swim as fast as you can.
And I feel like regular sized sharks wouldn't be bad. It's like when you have a 25-foot shark, that's when it becomes scary.
Yeah, that's the real issue right there.
Yeah. Like, because like a little shark, like a 6-foot shark, like, I mean, it would bite you and you'd be in the water, but like you could definitely like punch it in the face enough and like you could probably like kill it.
Yeah.
So
I feel like if you use eye gouge,
yeah,
you will probably be successful.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, and I mean, if you were like scared enough, you could rip its gills out and then it would die, and then you'd be like, and then as you like bled out in the water. So it's just 25-foot sharks that are scary.
Yeah, but the one they can basically eat half of you in one bite. Not a good thing.
Yeah, those ones not fun. How Long to Beat has this title at 30 whole minutes. I didn't beat it in that time. Weird. Actual retail price was $30, and if we factor in inflation, that's $57.61 today. Current eBay price, you can get a loose copy of this cart for about $15 and $60 for a complete in-box copy. I feel like there's better things to spend your money on than like a complete in-box copy of Jaws and Top Gun.
Yeah, these wouldn't be the ones I would be collecting, that's for sure.
So, yeah, that'd be... and then eShop price doesn't exist on any eShop, so... I could see... Yeah. Anyways. Development details. Again, not a lot going on in the development of this game. I wonder why. So, we're going to do a little lesson, and we're going to learn about LGN. Tyson, have you heard of LGN? They used to produce some video games back in the 80s.
Only through the AVGN, the Angry Video Game Nerd.
Yeah, so LGN. During the 8-bit gaming era, Nintendo initially initiated a form of quality control based on limiting the number of titles to appear on its consoles. The company required each licensing company to limit the number of NES titles it published each year. As a result, companies like Acclaim created divisions such as LGN to produce more products than Nintendo would otherwise allow. Konami also utilized such workarounds with its division Ultra. Even after Nintendo dropped this rule in the early 1990s, Acclaim continued operating LGN, which published several games for the Super Nintendo and Game Boy. Although Acclaim distributed the video games, they were self-published and marketed by LGN. So the reason why LGN has so many terrible games, because they were kind of meant as like a terrible game company.
Yeah, and they were basically we couldn't pass it through, or we are not good enough to make it through on the flagship. Here you go.
Yeah, but it's kind of neat. Like when I read that, because I was like, oh, that's fun. That like Nintendo took that kind of that product, that quality control standpoint really early on and said, we don't want our system diluted with 1,000 shitty games. Like, we'd rather have like 100 really good games. You know, like, I realize we're missing out on 900 games there, but it's more about quality than quantity.
Yeah, and especially since video games aren't cheap. So, and best one, like, back in the day, most families had like 4 or 5 games for an entire console. Like, you think about that in the modern age, like, there's so, like, you have a subscription to PSN or, like, Xbox Live, and if you have gold, they're like, here's free games every month.
Yeah.
So, like, as a kid, you would get, like, 5 or maybe a game or 2 a year. For them to be bad was a really big problem.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. So it's kind of like app stores. Like, imagine if Apple had, like, some quality control over, like, the games that they produce.
Mm-hmm.
Like iPad games, there's literally just memes of just shitty fucking iPad games that people make. Like Elsa's pregnant, or like Elsa's facial surgery. Just Frozen games. Mm-hmm. They're weird.
And they're free, but they get ads, and people make money off them, and they just never get taken down. So you can just pump out new ones.
Yep. Oh yes. Oh yes. So the controls for the specific game Jaws, I found they were fairly responsive. They never really felt like they were cheap. And, I mean, considering that you're afraid of water and drunk, you boat and swim pretty well.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. All right. Nothing really to add to the controls there. Pretty simple.
Yeah, the only thing is during the swimming parts, you kind of have, like, your guy kind of gets too much momentum and, like, slingshot across the stage, so you kind of have to control that a little bit.
That's fair. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Nice. All right. So, to get back into the groove, I mean, we're already kind of aware of what, like, the 87 feels like, but let's, like, really get back into it. Let's hit our Wayback Machine for our final time of the episode. What movies came out in November of 1987? Planes, Trains, and Automobiles was in theaters, 3 Men and a Baby, and Arnold Schwarzenegger's classic, The Running Man. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Also, weird that movie's never been remade.
Yeah, it's weird. I know that's a Stephen King property, The Running Man.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, who knows? Maybe somebody's holding on to the rights and wants far too much.
Who knows? TV, we would be seeing Cosby Show or The Golden Girls. I guess you'd also have, what was it, Elf and Cheers. I just kind of picked 2 of each for each year, because Top Gun and Jaws both came out within a month of each other.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
Yeah. Games that were released in November 1987. Final Fantasy, Zelda 2, and Contra for the NES were all released. So, if you want to know more about those games, listen to our old podcasts on Zelda 2, Contra, and whatever the other third game was. What's the note say? Final Fantasy.
Yes. And this is apparently a month we've played a lot of.
We love, like, November 87, best year of my life. Are you kidding me? Best year.
And listen to some of these great tracks on the radio.
Oh, what top 3 songs were playing on the radio? Tyson asks. Here I Go Again by Moni Moni by Billy Idol.
Shooting down, turn around, come on, Moni.
And Bad by Michael Jackson. Breathe. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, it's good. They're going to be, it's pretty solid. Actual top 3, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that one. I'm like, those are actually pretty good songs. I can see why people would listen to that. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's no My Heart is a Breaking by Travis Witt or something like that. Like that one top song from that one show we did.
Yeah, that was the song I didn't even recognize or know existed.
I just made it up, so that's probably why I didn't know it was the thing.
Oh, fair enough.
All right, first memory. Hey, guess what? Knock, knock.
Who's there?
I'm a broken record. I don't know. I don't have any first memories of this game. I think it was AVGN.
Yeah, me too.
All right, yeah, it's good. All right, so the story of this game, which I think I got wrong. I just wrote this down, but I think it's wrong. A giant killer shark has attacked Amity Island. You, being a drunk sheriff, have to go into the water and collect shells to kill him. But I don't think that's right. Like, I think this game is based on Jaws 4, not Jaws 1.
You think?
Yeah, so you're kind of in like, well, I guess we can get, so level notes. So the overworld, you're sailing between two little harbors, and it's kind of, it looks more like almost like Caribbean, and it's like kind of tropical. There's palm trees, where the fourth movie takes place in the Caribbean. The side scrolling, you're underwater and you're collecting seashells to take out a giant and sea life and fighting kind of Jaws is the side scrolling missions. And the fourth movie, he's a marine biologist and he like goes in the water and dives and scuba dives around. So I think it's more based on Jaws 4 than Jaws 1.
No, you're probably right with this one, because I know the ending of this is very reminiscent of Jaws 4. So
Yeah. Yeah, so there's like palm trees on an island and a plane, and Michael Caine is a pilot who crashes his plane into the shark in the fourth one, as well as you have to try and spear the shark with your boat,
yes.
and that's how they kill him in the fourth one. They have this little like sonar gun and they like shoot him and he blows up.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've watched the entire Jaws franchise, apparently, but
Yeah.
yeah, this one's definitely not close to Jaws 1. They probably just called it Jaws just for namesake.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah, because if it was like Jaws 4: The Revenge, they'd be like, well, where's the other games?
Yeah. Where's 1, 2, and 3?
Yeah. So my references to drunken Sheriff Brody are technically not correct, because I think it's more the fourth game or the fourth movie than the first one. So
Yeah.
yeah. But gameplay, you cruise around, Jaws comes out, you can go fight him, and then there's some underwater segments, and you're collecting seashells to upgrade your boat and health and attack so that we can actually hurt Jaws. Make sense?
Yep.
All right. So after collecting all the seashells and powering up, you get into the final battle with Jaws. He's way bigger than all the rest of the things on the screen. You do a side-scrolling kind of swimming mission. You shoot him a bunch of times, and once you've taken enough damage, there's kind of a first-person view of your boat, and you have to try and line up the mast. I think that's not the mast. Whatever like the front part of the ship is, and ram it into the shark to take him out.
And then then that's it. Game over.
Get to see the ending. Did I write the ending down? I did not. But I think it just shows a plane, and the ending is like, happy, everyone's happy, Jaws is dead.
You could have flowed this whole time.
Current thoughts, this game is kind of decent. I mean, it almost seems like it's just a game they invented that doesn't need, like, the Jaws tie-in.
Yeah.
I mean, I realized Jaws tie-in was there to sell games. Yeah.
But I like the overworld. Like, it's neat that you are sailing around, and the first upgrade, you get, like, kind of like a beacon, and you can pick up on where he is. And if you actually like, get the beeps, you can actually start like sailing away from him. You can kind of outrun him.
Yeah. Except when I was in the overworld, I just wanted the Star Tropics scene playing because it just looks like Star Tropics.
Yeah, totally.
Like exact kind of same like pixels and art and graphics. So yes. All right. So of our 3 games, how would you rank them? So we'll just call Ghostbusters as the worst game. That was the worst experience we've had. The other 2 titles though, Jaws and Top Gun, which one did you prefer? So we had kind of a early simulator on the rail shooter, and another one was like a collectathon, kind of like side-scrolly action game. How are you feeling those 2?
I'm feeling that Jaws is the best.
Okay.
It has the most gameplay variety, and then Top Gun, because the shooting sections are pretty fun, but there's something with Jaws, like when you're trying to gather all your seashells, you kind of have your first like little bit before Jaws shows up. It's pretty chill, so you can actually collect like a lot and kind of prepare yourself. Whereas there just seems a lot more like easy gameplay, and it's more approachable as opposed to Top Gun, where it's like, oh, didn't land on a helicarrier, you suck, start again. And you're like, man, this sucks. So
Yeah, perfect. No, I agree with those sentiments 100%. So, good. So, a little, are you buying it? And then I think we're out of here.
cool.
All right, so Ghostbusters. Crossing the stream at the end of the movie actually kills everybody. So, at the end of the movie, they cross their streams to fight Gozer, and they actually kill themselves. Thus, the ending is actually just all of them going into purgatory or potentially heaven. Are you buying it?
Well, they did say never to cross the streams.
Because it would just destroy everything everywhere.
Yes.
So, now again, it's all theoretical, so I mean, you can take that into account too. So maybe it was like theoretical miscalculations. But I don't know. How about Top Gun? Oh, sorry. And then the guy's version of events doesn't exist in the 2016 remake due to the Mandela effect existing in that world.
I've never seen 2016.
All right, it sucks. Don't watch it. Ghostbusters should be men.
No, I just think that if you're gonna make a Ghostbusters movie, make it about busting ghosts and not just try to slap some bad comedy
And
in there.
not just about your vaginas.
Well,
Although I love when Amy Schumer talks about her vagina. It's so funny.
yeah, she's girls are hilarious. Just get over it.
All right. Top Gun. Theories about Top Gun. Top Gun was an early cinematic masterpiece about gay propaganda. You know the look Iceman gives Maverick in that volleyball game. You're telling me that's not a little fruity?
I've never seen Top Gun.
Really? Huh.
I have never seen it.
All right. Well, watch it. I mean, if anything, Hope will really like the volleyball scene.
That's probably fair.
Yeah. All right. Jaws. My final theory of the day. Chief Brody has a drinking problem, and the whole movie is just an allegory about his alcoholism. He was a cop in New York City who got himself into an accident as a result of his drinking. Rather than being fired, he was relocated to Amity Island. His alcoholism continued and combined with his fear of water until it manifested itself as a shark that finally attacked his family and threatened his job. So he had to overcome his two greatest fears in life, water and alcohol, in order to destroy this giant menace.
It's a very interesting way of looking at it. I mean, if Jaws was directed by David Lynch instead of Steven Spielberg, I think that's probably what we would have gotten.
So you think it was just literally just a giant shark movie?
Well, technically it was based off a book, and the book actually had more going on to it, but yeah.
Oh, I love Jaws. Jaws is like definitely one of my favorite movies, so that's why I had like a little bit more to say about that one.
Fair enough.
There you go. So we got three theories that Tyson is thinking I'm just full of shit on. So, yeah.
Well, you know, the Ghostbusters one's probably pretty accurate. So I got 102.
All right, nice. That's not bad. It's 66%. So, actually, I guess it'd be 1 out of 3.
Yeah, that's fun.
Which is 33%, which was supposed to be the joke, but we butchered it with our math. But did we miss anything?
Nah, I think we covered as much as we can about these pretty...
Well, we did miss kind of a better setup for our movie trilogies that we were doing. The fact we were doing 3 games.
That's true.
And then we kind of just randomly talked about like our movie theater like setup experience. So,
yeah.
But like, that's fine. I think discussing those things at the end of a podcast is the best way of dealing with them. So
yeah.
It would also be. It would be impossible to talk about it beforehand, so...
Because we haven't made the mistakes yet.
Yeah.
But I think the point is we address them, and for those people that stuck around after we finished and were raging at us, hopefully this adds a little bit of conclusion, knowing that we are human, we make mistakes, and sometimes when we're recording, we don't feel like re-recording an hour, so...
That's it.
That's what you get.
That's it. Nice. All right. So, in closing, thank you for listening. You can contact Podtendo on Twitter at Podtendo Podcast, email us at podtendo@gmail.com, or check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/Podtendo. The music of Podtendo was used without permission and is property of Nintendo.
turtle power.